All right, today we're doing something a little different. We're not just going to look at a philosophy, we're actually going to embark on a journey. Imagine a steep climb up a wild mountain, and our guide, well, he's a pretty misunderstood god. This is the Doinysian Path, and believe me, it's a challenging but profoundly life-affirming climb into the heart of your own untamed self. So let's get started.
But before we take that first step, I want to pose a question. Just think about it for a second. So much of our world is built around chasing comfort, right? Avoiding pain, building these safe, predictable lives. But is that really all there is? What if all that safety, all that comfort actually comes at a cost? This explainer is all about what lies beyond that safety net, out in the untamed wilderness of our own potential.
So here it is. Our journey begins with an invitation to the wild. And our guide, the Greek god Dionysus, is beckoning us to step off the paved roads and venture onto a raw, mountainous path of self-discovery.
And here we are, at the foothills. This is where the familiar, ordered world, the one with all the rules and straight lines, starts to fade away. The path gets a little rocky, a little uncertain, and you have to understand, this external wilderness, it's really just a mirror for our own inner world. You know, all those parts of ourselves that are untamed, chaotic, and just brimming with this powerful, primal energy.
Okay, as we start to climb, you can feel the path getting steeper. This part of the journey is the ascent into paradox. To keep going, we have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. We have to learn to hold two completely opposite ideas in our head at the same time, and to see contradiction and difficulty not as problems, but as essential parts of the journey itself.
And this really gets to the heart of the challenge. See, Dionysus isn't some simple, kind god. He is both the liberator who brings ecstatic joy and wine, and the destroyer who brings madness. This isn't just some story. The ancient Greeks lived this out in festivals held in his honor. Wild, ecstatic rituals where the lines between civilization and wilderness completely blurred. He is the paradox of existence. And to walk his path, you have to accept that life itself contains its own opposite.
So how do you even manage a climb like this? Well, you need a very specific mindset. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche had a name for it, the tragic disposition. It's the sheer strength to look directly into the abyss, to see all of it, the incredible joy and the terrible pain, creation and destruction, life and death, and to not flinch. It's the ability to see the whole chaotic picture and still say yes, to keep climbing without giving in to despair.
As we climb higher, the air starts to get thin, and you can see a storm gathering on the horizon. But this isn't just a patch of bad weather. No, this is the climax of our journey. This is the storm of creation. It's a necessary, powerful, and beautiful chaos.
You know, this is true if you think about it. Every single new thing, a piece of art, a new life, a new version of yourself, it's always born from a moment of chaos. The old ways, the old patterns, they have to be broken. You need that eruptive, unpredictable energy. This storm, that's the energy.
The ancient Greeks actually had a name for this creative force: divine madness. Now, it is absolutely crucial to understand this is not an illness, it's not a pathology, it is a healthy, powerful force that erupts from the deepest parts of our being. It was a sacred state that the Dionysian rituals were trying to invoke. And its purpose? To completely shatter the rigid old structures in our lives, to make way for real, profound liberation and renewal.
So this divine madness, it's not just destruction for its own sake. It is a creative storm. It shatters our old limitations so we can unleash our deepest expressions. And that allows for a profound renewal of who we are, which ultimately leads to true freedom.
And then the storm breaks. The chaos quiets down. We've made it through. And now we're standing at the peak, looking out at a world that feels brand new, with a kind of clarity and perspective that was just impossible to imagine from the foothills below. This is the summit of being. The reward for this entire, difficult climb is what Nietzsche called great health. And this isn't just about the absence of sickness, it's so much more. It's a deep vitality, a kind of resilience that you can only get from having faced the storm and learned how to integrate its power. So you see, this whole wild journey, it actually follows a clear path. First, you learn to embrace paradox. Then you endure the creative storm. And finally, because you've passed through that fire, you're able to say yes to existence in its totality, the good, the bad, all of it.
And the ultimate expression of this total acceptance is a concept called amor fati. It's Latin for a love of one's fate. It's the practice of not just putting up with your life, but actively loving it, wanting nothing to be different. It means you can look back at the entire climb, the easy parts, the painful storms, the terrifying heights, and see every single step is absolutely necessary to bring you to this very moment.
This is the final, beautiful alchemy of the Doinysian Path. It's the ability to take everything that has ever happened to you, even the most agonizing experiences, and transform them into fuel, into stimulants for a bigger, more vibrant, and more creative life.
So we've reached the summit. We've seen the view, but the journey isn't really over until we bring this understanding back down the mountain with us and weave it into our lives. The final stage is all about actually living this love of one's fate. And so, I'll leave you with this question. Because this entire philosophical journey we've just been on, it all comes down to a very personal challenge. When you look back at the mountains and the storms of your own life, what part of your story, especially the hard parts, are you now ready to say a full, complete, resounding yes to?